Yo, what's poppin'? I am going to take a look at one question for each of the NA teams after 1 week of OWL. The biggest questions about each team after we've seen a weekend of gameplay. So starting off with Atlanta, the biggest question here is can they maintain the success obviously so far, but also can they adapt to a changing 5v5 meta fast enough without Unter there after Unter leaves? They look good right now, but if the meta changes, how quickly they adjust and all that. Because Unter looked to be a large part of Atlanta's success last season, but without him there, it's a big question mark of what's actually happening. Moving on to Boston, it's the biggest question of what is this tank rotation going to be? We have Marvel, Itzel, and Punk. Punk was playing mostly, but Itzel and Marvel both got a map or two. So the biggest question here will be, will they find a good rotation between these tanks? And if they do, that's great, and they could be the gatekeeper to top tier, I think, even. Moving on to Dallas. The biggest question for me on Dallas is can Edison live up to his original hype? I don't. He looked good against Washington last weekend, but I did not see it at all against Houston. I think Edison is probably the weakest part of this roster, regardless who's being fielded at the time. But if he picks up his play to the hype that he was supposed to have coming into the league, they're very dangerous. Moving on to Florida. My biggest question is how much of a difference is XC going to make over Hydron when he comes in? I think he'll be available this weekend. Another question I have is can the playstyle between Surmaged and Animo balance out? Will Animo remain being a pacifist Lucio? And also, are they going to keep experimenting with someone on Roadhog? Bring it out, you know? Moving on to Houston, my biggest question is can they have a form of consistency? Because we did not see it after them being rolled by Fuel, or rolling Fuel, and then losing to Toronto. You have to question what's going on a little bit. Will Dante remain on tank? Is he maybe he actually stays on tank as their Doomfist player, but he also gets a little bit of monkey gameplay so that he can be a bit flexible. Maybe Piggy steps up. We got to know what's happening between this Dante tank and also the Lastro Lucio. I think it was good. Hopefully he keeps that up. So moving on to London. Are they going to play Rush forever? Are they actually stuck in Rush mode? That's the only question really. And if Rush becomes good, are they even the best at it? Moving on to Gladiators. This is very hard to really find a weakness looking at this roster. But my biggest thought is, I guess, between Space and Reiner. What's going on here? We saw Space play one game, but Reiner did everything else. Is it just because Monkey's good and they enjoy playing Monkey? Or does Space maybe get a Doomfist on him? Maybe more Zarya? Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I assume Space will be the Circuit Royale player, but right now that's all he is. So we'll see what happens between this tank line. New Arc Excelsior. Gang Engine Lucio, will it get better? Was not impressed. And will Yaki continue to play Echo as much as humanly possible? And also, can we play Vulcan? Go ahead, play Vulcan. Moving on to Paris, we have the Glister Show. Is Naga good enough to complement the Glister Show? Because Glister is by far the most impressive part of this Paris roster. You have to can Paris find a way to support him effectively? Moving on to Shock. Is Kaluge? You still have to question even after one weekend. Is Kaluge going to be a good enough? Are going to be flexible enough to be the only tank on this roster? You have no questions about any other part. They're all star-studded. Can they be a masterclass team still with this roster? I think the answer is yes. This roster looks very good. Yeah, so I don't know. Not really a lot else to say about them. Just the main thing about Kalush, you don't have any doubts about proper. Sam already doubted, like, made the haters doubt, silenced them perhaps. There's nothing, not a lot anything else to say about this. Toronto is, can they beat the mid allegations? Right now they cannot. Muse and Twilight just do not seem synced up sometimes. Uh, can they stop being over aggressive? I guess is a big part of this, but because we see Muse and Finale especially dive in a little early and end up dying for it. So will they beat the mid allegations? Vancouver. How is this Shockwave and Aspire DPS line with Psycho going to work? Can we stop seeing Aspire on Genji? Can False pick up? Can False be a consistently good solo tank? That's the biggest questions with Vancouver. And moving on to the Washington Justice. Can they find some consistency in their game? Will Decay boom again in this season? What is going on here? Decay seems to be playing very well, but if you have a player like Decay, I think you want to build your entire team around him, to be honest. Have Washington does that? Is it good enough? I don't know. I do not know. We will see anyway. Thanks for pulling up, if you've pulled up. It's a quick one question about every team after the first week, yeah? Go ahead, hit the like, hit the subscribe, give me a comment, bruh. Talking to the void, bruh. Messed up.